Hi, this is Lauren Fogelman at ExpertSportsPerformance.com, working with highly driven, motivated athletes, have more focus, confidence, the ability to effectively deal with distractions when competing for consistent high performance. Today's topic is Lance Armstrong and the real problem with cheaters. We have something in common with Armstrong. We might not even want to admit it, but it's really there. It has to do with how we think, and something called thinking errors, which is being willing to cross the line, go where most people don't go, might affect you, might definitely affect other people. So what we're going to look at is what leads to a thinking error, what are the different types of thinking errors, and why do some people cross the line and others don't. Let's go ahead and get started and see what were some of the thinking errors and what made Armstrong different than most other people. First of all, he had some type of stress or a problem. There was something that he wanted, and he just didn't have it yet. After tension, well, not having it contributed to a problem. He wanted to win the Tour de France, and he just couldn't see getting there without any type of artificial enhancement, namely steroids. So because of this problem, it was on his mind a lot. He was thinking about it, and it brought up loads and loads of feelings because he wanted it so much. He was thinking about any and every way that possible to really help him go ahead and break through his problem, winning a Tour de France title. Now, this is where Armstrong is separated from most of us. Now, we all have, with thinking errors, sometimes we have tension. We have problems at times, and we have thoughts about what to do with them. Some of the thoughts are really above the line, some of them are below the line. However, what separates most of us from Armstrong is that if they're really not above the line, most of these thoughts, we just stop right there. We stop considering them as an option. But Armstrong, he went ahead and he took action, and he started taking the steroids in order to enhance his performance and increase his odds of winning the Tour de France title. And of course, there's consequences with anything you do. So his actions led into consequences. Some of them were positive and some were negative, because you're going to get pros and cons with everything. The positives were that he got 7 Tour de France titles. The negatives, well, money, really integrity and his reputation, having to give back all those titles, having to repay a lot of money, having to give back his Olympic bronze medals. A lot of it is still unfolding. But there's other long-term consequences that might be positive coming out of this too. It might be that the anti-doping committee really tightens up things so that people don't have to take steroids in order to be able to cross the bar into that elite level of cycling. That would be a really great consequence out of all of this. The other consequence that's probably going to come out of this is Armstrong's still going to make millions, because he's going to end up getting a movie deal and maybe some other deals out of this whole thing, because it's a great story. So these are some of the things as to what leads to thinking errors. What separates most people is that they stop with the thoughts. They don't take action on those thoughts that might be a little bit more criminal. Now, what are some of the types of thinking errors that Armstrong probably had? Okay, black and white thinking, either or. It was either he was in it all the way or he wasn't going to do it whatsoever. Very little room for gray or moderation with people that tend to go black and white. They tend to be either or, and either they're doing it to the extreme or they're not doing it whatsoever. After that, minimizing. He was playing down the consequences. He felt that it wasn't going to hurt anybody. What's the big deal? Just kind of minimizing the weight of what he was actually doing. And then after minimizing, there's blanket generalizations, which is basically saying everybody's doing it. The fact is, not every single cyclist in the Tour de France takes steroids, but he was probably thinking everybody's doing it. And in order to really be at the top of the competition, he knew for a fact in his mind that everybody was doing it, and that was the only way that he was going to get an edge. And then finally, jumping to conclusions. When we jump to conclusions, it means we believe we absolutely know the outcome and what's going to happen. But a lot of time, it's not based upon fact. It's just based upon what we perceive and what we see as the options, as opposed to really knowing all the different options and alternatives out there. So these are just a couple thinking errors that Armstrong probably worked through while he was kind of toying with, should I take steroids or not, before he crossed the line. But the bottom line is he did. So what keeps some people from crossing the line whereas others don't? The first thing has to do with integrity and values. If you really have strong values, live by your values, and feel integrity is something really important to you, that what you believe in and your actions need to be congruent, you're not likely to cross the line. The next one has to do with fear. If you're afraid of getting caught and the consequences are just totally outweigh the benefits, you're not as likely to go ahead and follow through with those thinking errors also. And the third one has to do with guilt and shame. Most of us have had guilt and shame at some point. But some people are better liars than others. The people that know they're not good liars and that doing something that is not above board just weighs heavily on their shoulders, they learn over time that they really should never go there. So guilt and shame keeps a lot of people from crossing that line, from just having the thought to taking action. Now, what I want you to really think about is this challenge. What are the stressors for you? And when you have those stressors, do you get reactive, or are you able to really stay focused and have action? Now, this has to do with when you're competing as well as off the field. Now, after that, okay, knowing whether you're reactive or active, the next thing you want to do is be able to recognize and really challenge your thinking. Are those all the options available to me? Now, if it's during competitions, you have to do this in a split second. If it's off the field, while you're really putting together strategy, it's something that you can look through with a little bit more time available. So look at all the options and make sure that this is not the only option available to you. Then go ahead and really look at what the best approach will be. And see what the best alternative will be that you can go ahead and try and follow through, so that you're really doing things above board, you're not crossing that line and setting yourself up for possibly getting in trouble legally or ending up hurting someone else that you might really care about. Well, that's pretty much it, is to really look at how you respond under pressure. If your thoughts are the only ones, and really challenge your thinking. If you have the option, strategize as much as possible to see what the options are and see if there's a better option that you can take action on. If you're interested in the 7 essential steps for high performance, go to my website, expertsportsperformance.com. Put your name, email address right in there. You'll immediately get that first video in the training series. And my goal is to help you stay cool when the heat is on. Lauren Fogman, expertsportsperformance.com.